Peace. At Arbaz hyphen q1l. The seerah was written 100 to 150 years after the Prophet's death. And the hadith collections was written 200 to 250 years after the death. The Prophet, his birth was either in the year 570 or 571. And the days he could have been born on was the 2nd, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, and the 17th of rabia awwal. His death was in the year 632. And he could have died on the 1st, the 2nd, the 8th, the 12th, the 13th, and the 18th, or the 18th of rabia awwal, and also the 28th of safar. The children of Israel have history that God had to correct in the Quran. So history can be wrong. And the only history I trust is the history from the Quran. And there's about, let me see, there's a few ayahs here that I want to quote to you so you could keep in mind when we do this analysis. We got ayat 200 and, no, my fault. We got Surah 2, 213, ayat 213. People was one community, and God raised up prophets as givers of good news and as warners, and in truth supplied them with kitab to judge the people about what they differ concerning it. Right? Raise up the prophets and supply them with the kitab to judge the people. Keep that in mind. In Surah 5, ayat 44, 45, and 47, they all ends with, and whoever doesn't judge by what God supplied, by what God sent down, right? Whoever doesn't do that, they are this. This is negative. They're bad. They're this, they're that. They're ungrateful. They're the culprits. They're the violators. Surah 5, ayat 92. So know that our messenger is only responsible for clearly communicating. What is that? Balaghul mubin. Clearly communication. Clearly communicating. That's all the messenger does, is clearly communicate. Like when Solomon and the queen, the person who went back and forth between them with the letter and stuff, was called Rasul. He was called a messenger. Because he had a message to give. And he gives the message. And he go back with the reply. That's how that works. Where I'm at. Surah 62 ayat. No, my fault. Surah 5. Ayat 67. Messenger, deliver what is supplied to you from your Lord. But if you don't do it, then you haven't delivered the messages. It's messages, right? So, the seerah and the hadith are not the messages of our Lord. And the prophet didn't have to deliver those hadith or that seerah. Surah 62, ayat 2. It is the one who raised up a messenger out of the ummiyina. Ummiyina. You know that word to be illiterate, meaning you can't read or write or tell time or whatever. Whatever comes with being illiterate. And maybe it's just they couldn't read or write, but they could tell time. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't read, but they could write. Maybe they couldn't write, but they could. I don't know. Maybe they couldn't read, but they could write. Maybe it's none of those. But they couldn't read or write. That's the standard narrative. The ummi means you can't read or write. The prophet was ummi, his people was ummiyin. That means none of his people could read or write. So none of his people could have been a scribe. And then we have Surah 10, ayah 15. And when our clear proofs are quoted to them, those who don't expect to meet us say, bring a Quran other than this, or change it. Say, it's not up to me to change it myself. I only follow what's instructed to me. I fear if I disobey my Lord, the torment of a terrible day. The prophet feared the torment of a terrible day, so that means that he's not going to try to bring you another Quran, and he's not going to try to change it at all. Now, when you read 25:32, right, Surah 25, ayat 32, I should have checked and see how they normally translate this one. But I know they normally translate this also Surah 73, ayat 4, as in to slowly, rhythmically recite the Quran, the tajweed. But that's not what it's talking about. It's talking about arranging the Quran the way that we have it, as it is. You know, you got a Fatiha in the beginning, Surah An-Nas at the end. You have this many ayats within this so-called surah. You have this many ayats within this one. So, Surah 25, ayat 32. وَرَتَّلْنَا hu tartilan, and we are arranging its arrangement. 73:4. Warattili al-Qur'ana tartilan. This is for the messenger. This is something that he had to do. And arrange the Quran's arrangement. The word tajweed is nowhere to be found in the Quran. Nowhere. So, what those two ayats is showing you that the Quran was compiled during the life of the Prophet. It wasn't after. It wasn't that some of it was on camel's skin and on bones and on rocks and on this and on that. No, it was compiled. Or it was already compiled. It was being compiled while he was living. So that's the proper context. That's the proper context. In Surah 17, ayat 110, and don't be loud or quiet in your salaah, but aim at a way between them. Right? But you telling me that the Prophet didn't follow the kitab, he didn't judge by al-kitab, and he made changes. As he says, I can't make a change. So he went back behind God's back and made some changes. You got the Salatul Fajr allowed. Unless you mean to tell me, don't be loud and don't be quiet, But be in between, that means you could do some loud and do some quiet. But this is not saying that. It's saying don't be loud or quiet. So you could pass in between. So you got a Fajr, aloud. Dhuhr and Asr, silent. Maghrib, silent and loud. Isha, silent and loud. Tahajjud, loud. The sunnahs and the waffles and you know what I mean? Quiet. The witr, aloud. Jumu'ah, aloud. Eid, aloud. I think the lunar eclipse, quiet. The solar eclipse, aloud. It's like mad salats right there. Mad salats. But he's switching back and forth, doing this, doing that, so he's breaking that. But you see that he had to be audible. He's talking. He's gonna be around people. Because if he's by himself, that wouldn't matter. So he's doing this with the group. Don't be loud or quiet in your salat. It's back in between, right? So now, if we go to Surah 4, Ayah 43, believers, don't go near the salat drunk until you know what you are saying. Till you know what you are saying, not till you know what you are reciting. Until you know what you are saying. So they had to have, what's what I'm looking for? They had to be cognizant of what they're saying. Because as you see, the messenger can't be loud or quiet. He got to talk to a certain volume for them. So as he's talking to them, and they can't go drunk, because when you're too drunk, you can be slurring, you could be falling around, you could be angry, you could get angry about it, you can do all that stuff. So don't go there drunk. Go when you're able to comprehend and speak and ask questions. Why? Because it says in Surah 5, Ayat 101, believers, don't ask about things if made known to you would distress you, but ask about them while the Quran is being supplied, being sent down, being revealed. The Quran is connected with the Salat. You know that. You do the tajweed and stuff, the rest reciting in your Salat. So we know the Quran is connected with the Salat. As we see, do it when the Quran is being revealed. I'm not saying the Quran was only revealed or supplied during the Salat, but some of it was. That's why it says, they ask you about this, say this. They ask you about this, say this. They ask you about this, say this. That is during the Salah. They can't be drunk because they got to understand what's being said. And now they told to ask while the Quran is being revealed, supplied. Now, Surah 33:55, it states, I'm not going to read it verbatim, but it says don't come to the prophet's house while they're waiting for the meal to be done, but come when it's ready, and leave when you finish eating. Don't stick around for hadith. It annoys him. Don't stick around for hadith. It annoys him. So how y'all have tons and thousands and millions of hadith if he ain't like it? I know what hadith, man. I'm just saying that we're gonna use just the Arabic word. Forget what it means in English. The word hadith. Don't stick around for hadith He don't like it. So you had to leave when you ate, you finished eating, you left. This hadith, when he's sitting with people, they're in the masjid, like what they call Abu Hurairah, Ahl Suf, the Ahl Suf, the poor people. The prophet, he was asking the prophet a question, and the prophet had a cup of milk, and then he did a miracle, and that whole cup of milk fed like 100 people. But don't stick around. How? He don't like the hadith. Why y'all? How can y'all be around him all that time like that when he don't really like that? Okay, that's one thing. Let's look at the Hijri calendar, right? If they couldn't tell time, they ain't had no calendar before then, right? They had no calendar. They can't read or write, none of that stuff. But in Surah 2, ayat 189, it says, they ask you about the hilal. I don't call the halal the crescent or the new moon. To me, the halal is the moon phases. They ask you about the halal, the moon phases. Say, it's a calendar for the people and for the Hajj. Why? Beginning the crescent, the waxing crescent, all that's at the beginning of the month. The full moon, that's the middle of the month. The waning crescent to the moon is totally dark, that's the end of the month. Then that waxing crescent come around again, that's the beginning of the next month. So they had a calendar already. What is this thing that Umar, he made a calendar? In God's calendar, there's 4 sanctioned months. There's 4 sacred months that are together consecutively. He spaces them out. I think he might have, so according to him, he put 2 together and 2 other 2 spaced out. But in Surah Toba, it says travel for 4 months. I mean, go ahead. You got this 4 months to travel. You got all this time to do what you're going to do. Now, once these 4 months is over, and we go back to fighting. It's not, okay, travel freely for 2 months. And then the next 3 months, we're going to be fighting. Then this next month come, we're not going to be fighting. Then we're going to be fighting. It's like, come on. Whatever it would be. No, it's 4 consecutive months, as the Quran states. And then on top of that travel for 4 months, that's connected to when God says the moment draw near and the moon has split. What moment draws near? The moment that we can start fighting again. How's it drawing near? Because we're at the last month, the last sanctioned or whole sacred month, we're the last one, and the moon is the second quarter moon. The quarter moon phase is when the moon is split. It's not talking about Muhammad splitting the moon and then come back together. Because that was the case. We need the historical proofs of all the regions, all the locale who wasn't around them. Because I could see the moon here. I could go down all the way down the East Coast and still see the same moon. You could be also in California and see that same moon. Where's all the people locale, the atheists, and all these people who documented that the moon ever split in the history of our human species existence? If you could look it up and let me know, I would appreciate that. The wudu. The wudu is not even in the Quran. I don't know where that word came from. Just like tajweed. I don't know where that word came from. But the wudu. Bring us a Quran other than this or change it. Say, I can't change it. I fear if I disobey my Lord. But clearly the Prophet don't. Because in the seerah and hadith, he changed the wudu, wiping the feet, to washing the feet. He added rinsing the hands, rinsing your mouth out, you brushing your teeth with the mishwak, putting water up your nose, and if it goes too far, it's gonna burn, and that's not a good feeling. Wiping over the head twice, wiping over the ears, wiping the neck, going in between the toes. You can't have nail polish if you're a female because the water has to touch your fingernail. And do everything 3 times. So you mean to tell me he did that? He violated? He violated God? He didn't fear God's punishment? He didn't fear the torment of God? And just started changing stuff? Okay. What's the next one? Oh, this is the last one, right? The last point I want to make. At Urbaz -q1l. I'm not trying to be rude to anything like that. I'm just the way I talk when you know what I mean? Just the way I talk and stuff like that when I do this. But and you could take it for what it is, take it and go back and look over. Think about it. Ponder. Compare. The tajweed, right? To me, the tajweed is something they make it up. Whoever started the Muslim religion, you know what I mean? They was smart people. Smart people. I don't know who started the Muslim religion, but you know, people love the tajweed. You know what I mean? And the Muslim religion uses the Quran as a crutch to get people to convert to their religion. And then once you got the Quran, you just use it to chant. But other than that, your main focus is on the hadith and the so-called sunnah. Okay. The Prophet said, I can't change it. We got the rule of iqlab. Iqlab. That is when the letter meme, get changed into a noon because it's followed by the letter ba. Yeah. So, they don't change it in the Quran, the writing, but they change it vocally. Like in Surah 2, what's they call that? Surah 2 Fil. Tarmihim bihi, right? Tarmihim bihi. The rest of it, right? So they changed the meme into a noon, and they don't even pronounce the noon. They do it like the ikhfa. That's how they pronounce it. So, if Muhammad and his followers are ummiyin, right? They can't read or write. Can't tell time or whatever. How would people know that meme is supposed to get changed into a noon because next to it is a ba? If the prophet is reciting, you call reciting it, and the people who's writing it down, because y'all say the people write it down is in the seerah and the hadith, people wrote it down. How can he distinguish what's a noon and the meme and the ba if he can read or write? Ikhfa this deals with concealing the noon sakin or the noon sukoon. The sukoon of the sakin is the little circle over a letter, or it looks like a C. I think it's like a backwards C or something like that. But anyways, men is a good word. Men is meme and then the noon, and next to it would be a sheen, like in Surah, what they call Surah al-Falaq. من شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر, you see, ومن, how he know that that's supposed to be a noon after the meme? if you're not pronouncing it. So that's my take on it. I didn't want to do anything really long and stuff like that. A whole bunch of ayahs, because a lot of the ayahs are repeated. A lot of the ayahs are repeated. You know what I mean? So if you go back and check the stuff out and compare, maybe you get clarity, maybe not. But I hope I brought clarity, or at least I sparked something in your mind to be like, you know what? It makes sense. Or if it don't make sense, go and compare. Go and compare. Really read it. Don't be loud or quiet in your salah. Don't change nothing. So you mean tell me the lashes is 100 in Surah An-Nur, but in the hadith you gotta die for adultery? In Surah An-Nisa, those who believe, then they deny, then they believe, then they deny, and they keep on denying. They're gonna be punished in the next life. But no, you say if you believe and then you want to deny and reject it, you gotta die. You gotta die. There's two Muhammads here. One in the Quran and one in the hadith. I'm not changing. Bring us a Quran other than this, or change it. Change it. In the hadith, he's changing up a whole bunch of stuff. That's it. Peace.